The Agile leadership mindset, embracing continuous change as a leader. That's me. I'm Milena. I studied computer science and I worked as a software developer for more than 10 years in 4 different companies. And I also have some experience as an Agile coach. I joined MOIA in October 2019, so about 2 years ago as a front-end developer, and then grew into the role of a chapter lead, which is a people manager. And also I work as a technical designer, which is something like a coding architect since January 2020. So what is my talk about? I want to talk about leadership anti-patterns and my own style. I want to talk about my leadership challenge, how I embrace continuous change while organizing people and while architecting tech. And then I will close with some Agile principles that I use for leading. So leadership anti-patterns and my own style. What did I experience? I experienced the busy boss, and the busy boss was mostly absent and acted unforeseeable when there was conflict. I didn't want to be the busy boss. Also, I experienced the laid-back buddy. The laid-back buddy avoided conflict and created a vacuum that left the team insecure. Also something that I didn't want to take into my leadership style. Also, I experienced the control freak who didn't tolerate other opinions and made the team slow and hindered them in the learning process. Also not something to use as a role model. So who do I want to be as a leader? I want to set standards and leave space. And I want to be reliable and strengthening. And how do I do that? The foundation is that I know my values. I can really recommend using XP Explained by Kent Beck or the Scrum Guide and reflect upon the values with the help of it. And basically, I adopted a lot of the Agile values and centered them around equality. So for me, it's really important to interact with everyone on eye level. So be it a superior or a celebrity, I'm not afraid to speak openly because I think we're equal in our value and we can learn from each other. And it's the same with the people that I lead. Approaching them on eye level enables them to give me really honest feedback. And that's what I need to grow, of course. So knowing my values, that they enable me to act consistently, even in challenging situations, and living up to them, I can role model them and influence people around me. What was my leadership challenge? Around people, we had 10 front-end developers who were a former front-end only team. And they were split into newly formed cross-functional teams. So also used the streamlined teams approach by team topologies here. And half of the team members were new because they're newly hired and there were external team members about to leave. So the challenge really was to keep the connection, to foster cross-team collaboration, but also helping them understand their home base now is their cross-functional team. The challenge around tech was we had a monolithic architecture. We had good intended but halfway finished architectural concepts because people were always coming and leaving. And we had a lot of waste in the workflows. So development was rather slow. The challenge here was to refactor cross-cutting concerns together, align if needed, but also enable the cross-functional teams to be as autonomous as possible. And I accepted that challenge with a Prime Directive in mind. So regardless of what we discover, we understand and truly believe that everyone did the best job they could, given what they knew at the time, their skills and abilities, the resources available, and the situation at hand. And this is very important when coming to an existing situation and coming to existing code, to not have resistance in change. Because if you accept that the past was like it was, you can move forward. How I embrace continuous change while organizing people. So remember, the challenge was to keep the connection to foster cross-team collaboration while helping them to understand that their home base is the cross-functional team. And we had this stable mission that we share a responsibility for the cross-cutting concerns of the front-end code. But we also had this continuous change, externals leaving, internals joining and leaving. Workload was in and decreasing both for the teams, but also regarding the cross-cutting concerns, and team assignments were changing. So we were experimenting with our setup a lot. We started out with Tech Stack Wednesdays. So we would huddle together in one room for 1 day per week, and we would switch our work from the cross-functional teamwork to our tech stack tasks. That was good for a team building situation, but it was really disrupting flow. So next we did a rotating pair. So you would be on duty every 4 or 5 weeks, and then 2 developers from 2 different teams would focus on cross-functional architecture tasks. That focused our work, but also it introduced an overhead for planning and handover each week. Next, we had 1 steady and 1 rotating platform team member. So I was the steady member as the architect. That enabled more consistency, but still enabled exchange. Still, we realized that there was an unforeseeable workload in the cross-functional teams that made planning really difficult. So next, we kept me as the steady platform team member, and everyone else was picking tasks flexibly depending on their workload, which was helping. But also we discovered that someone was always doing a lot of flexible tasks because they didn't have enough workload in their cross-functional team anyway. So we then switched to a completely staffed platform team and kept the community of practice where we would still pick tasks flexibly, so that we still have this kind of exchange across teams, but we also have an actionable platform team. How I facilitated team changes. So I just want to give you that thought because I think it's not something common. So when that new platform team came up and some other team changes, basically I tried to understand the need of people and shared that with all the people in our front-end core chapters. And then I asked them, can you, this is my educated guess. This is the people that I would assign. What do you think of it? So really giving space for criticizing and fine-tuning. And then they would add a plus, a question mark, or a minus next to their name. So this is about proposing an idea and asking for resistance, and really asking for honest critique, like, do you really feel good? Do you just feel okay? Or do you have a bad feeling about this? And we had someone who had a bad feeling about the initial draft. And then I could use that to fine-tune the decision-making with those who had concerns. How did I embrace continuous change while architecting tech? So the continuous tech change for tech that we had is we needed to refactor cross-cutting concerns together, align if needed, and enable the cross-functional teams to be as autonomous as possible. The mission needed to be stable, so we want to drive technical excellence in our code base to improve development speed and quality. But the continuous change is that, of course, we're not in a vacuum. We can't make a stop and refactor for technical excellence. But while we're doing that, there's a continuous stream of new features and designs developed by 4 to 6 teams. And also, especially in front end, the technical ecosystems is always updating. So how did I drive technical excellence? First of all, I found it very important to foster a sustainable pace for decision making. So I would forbid ad hoc decisions in chat and ask to take it to the weekly discuss and decide meeting, where we would then take decisions on refactoring cross-cutting concerns. I appreciate when people get inspired. So if someone gets inspired about a new technology and we need that change, we align that we need that change, the person who is inspired is driving the change. Also, I need to make sure that we don't overwhelm ourselves. So we have a just do it attitude for small improvements, and we do joint prioritization for larger ones. Also, we educate ourselves before decision making, especially for larger changes like, do we refactor from JavaScript to TypeScript? How are we modularizing our monolith? Do we need NX or is there another technology? We do knowledge sharing sessions before we take the decision. And we used campground tasks for refactoring. So we only have tickets for as much as needed to have the working proof of concept. And after that, we added to the list of campground tasks that are reminding you on every pull request, like, did you improve testing? Did you refactor to TypeScript if you touched something that hasn't been refactored to TypeScript yet? And so on and so forth. Yeah, so how do we commit to a technical roadmap? How can you facilitate doing that? What I used is, for example, risk mapping. So prioritizing by strong pain or gain and by low or high effort. And also I used liberating structures like 1, 2, 4, all. Here you can see that we first aligned in groups about the most important pain points and then saw that the groups did align on similar tasks, and then we could have a common understanding as the whole group, what is the next big step. So risk mapping is fine, 1, 2, 4, all is helpful. Also, I find it helpful to ask for monkey work that can be automated, vampire work that takes away energy, and cheerleader work that makes you happy. Also, I did an anonymous survey about the developer experience, like how is the workflow, what tools and practices are you using, are there missing solutions? And especially about the tools and practices, it's helpful to have this anonymous, because then people can admit that they're not using the tool that you built as a platform team and say why, so that you can really iterate on that and understand, do you need more education, or is it the wrong tool, or where is the problem really lying? So avoiding that people are too polite. Yeah, leading through continuous change with Agile principles. As I said, I have a background in Agile coaching, and I like to really integrate these principles into my leadership style, my leadership mindset. First of all, embrace change of XP explained. I think it's really important to not resist change. So if there's something changing, I like to get on with that change and proactively shape it to understand what the momentum is and facilitate its flow in a healthy way instead of resisting it, because that will really take more energy than going with the flow and trying to make the best out of the change situation. Whoever comes are the right people. That's by open space technology. And I also find it very important as a leader to appreciate who is there instead of focusing on who isn't, especially when someone is not joining a working group or not everyone is joining a working group. I'm not focusing on the people who didn't join, but I'm focusing on the people who joined and understand the competencies and needs of these people and build upon that. And of course, Prime Directive for retrospectives. We truly believe everyone did the best job they could. So when I'm questioning existing solutions I'm doing that without questioning that it was the best solution when installed. So maybe people didn't know better, maybe there was time pressure. It's fine as it is, but it doesn't mean that there is not a better solution in the future. And then we can focus on that. Yeah, so when in doubt, I use my values to reflect upon them. I ask myself, do I role model respect and equality? Am I really asking for honest feedback? Am I transparent enough to build trust? And am I really focused on the next simple step? So that's how like the Agile mindset helped me to grow into my leadership role. And I hope I got you inspired. So thanks for having me. Hit me on Twitter or LinkedIn